uh, have a very unique and special project prepared for today and for the next 8, 9 days. Early on in the pandemic, uh, Russ Kaplan, great composer from New York, approached me and asked if I knew people in different continents. He had an idea for a wonderful project, and what we have is 9 composers who have all created music of their own and then shared their charts across with the others. And then everyone recorded their full version of all the songs. So we're going to chat with each of the people, starting today with Mr. Russ Kaplan. And we're going to do that. We're going to dive into the Zoom room, and we also have some of the other composers in the room. So let's get to it. Greetings, greetings. Welcome everybody. I wanted to get my sound together. The headphones are funny. Welcome everybody. We are here at the Rope-a-Dope Room, and we have some amazing musicians in the room. We're going to kick it off with the man who put this concept together and effectively collaborated with people from many continents to get this done. Mr. Russ Kaplan, how are you, Russ?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Lewis?
I am good. I'm excited. First of all, I want to say that I have not watched everything.
Me either.
There you go. It's been a busy time, but as you and I have shared before, we both kind of like it that way to see it with fresh eyes. So I'm looking forward to this. I kind of introed and explained to people what to expect here, but I'd like to hear from you, like how, what was the genesis? What was the birth of this concept?
Man, well, I guess I kind of had like three sources of inspiration for this. Two were musical projects that other people have done, and one was a global pandemic. um, the first project was something that you remember many years ago. Elvis Costello and Burt Bacharach did a record together
I did. I remember seeing it.
a
I
while
never
back.
did
Yeah,
actually listen to it. Yeah.
so it's good, but like while they were making it, Bill Frisell made a companion album of the same songs because if I've heard the story right, they exchanged charts. Like they sent the charts to Bill Frisell, but he had never heard the songs,
Mm.
or maybe he had heard rough demos, but the album certainly wasn't done yet. But he made an entire companion record just based, I think, mainly on the written materials. And so if you listen to them side by side, it's just a really interesting um, exercise in interpreting what could be the same on the page, but very differently. And then another similar project that I was really inspired by was when Beck put out an entire album's worth of sheet music, but didn't record any of it and gave it to the whole world and said, "Here, do this stuff, and I'm not gonna record it or play it for you, tell you how it's quote unquote supposed to sound." And that first one was more of a like exchange between friends, and then that second one that Beck did was more just kind of throwing it out all on the table and seeing what happened. But I thought both of those were just really great exercises in musical trust and trusting your own material to hold up in other people's hands, trusting other people to do right by it, and just like that exchange of ideas without dictating what it should be. I thought was really amazing on both parts. And so for a while I'd wanted to do something kind of like that, but I didn't know exactly what, and then about a week into this crazy new world we're living in, I just woke up one day and like my version of it had just somehow kind of clicked,
Mm-hmm.
because no musicians cannot just interact the way they used to anymore. We certainly can't play together in the same way. Um, we can do virtual performances from afar that are meant to simulate live, band interaction, but it's still just a simulation at this point with the technology we have. But I thought, like, man, there's got to be another way for people to just exchange ideas and be musical together. And so I thought, like, this international writing group approach to things, and just not having giving ourselves the pressure of performing together, but still being able to exchange musical ideas in a kind of free way, where we could be ourselves and be individuals, but at the same time try and get inside each other's heads. Yeah, I guess that's where it came from. And I realize now that I've just explained the genesis of it without explaining what it actually is to people who might not know. And
I want to take a step back before you go into that. And I just want
yeah,
to, I want to
sure.
first say, there aren't, you only knew one of these musicians before?
I did, yeah. Yeah, so the first person I called about this idea before my inner no voice could shut it down was my friend and mentor, Eric Deutsch. And we go way back to high school, but he's a really amazing keyboardist and composer who lives currently in Mexico City. And I just kind of ran this by him to see if it was like completely insane, first of all, but then also to see if he would do it with me. He immediately said, yeah, I'm in, which is amazing. And so that also made me nervous because, now I'm participating with my mentor. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah, that kind of just having one voice of validation like gave me the confidence to let's like go forth. And then Rope-a-Dope was sort of the hub that busted wide open because you guys know people everywhere, and so
Well, it was funny. You sent an email and said, "Do you know anybody on different continents?" I'm like,
maybe.
Here's 10 names.
Yeah, exactly. So, and originally I was imagining only maybe like 5 people would be doing this, but the response and the desire to participate by so many people was like kind of overwhelming, actually. And I was like, yeah, the more the merrier. So
I also want to just put a side note, and before you continue and tell people what this is,
sure.
that Russ is no stranger to grand ideas. Russ and I met when he emailed me years ago and said, "I have an entire album based on Ulysses, and are you interested in hearing it?" So, it's like from word one.
It's only 20 tracks.
It's big. It's
Light
bigger. It was bigger than just an album. So Russ is always thinking
Thanks,
in this kind of grand scope. So, please, you can share exactly what people are about to see.
Okay, so what ended up happening is, and I swear this idea, part of the pitch was, this won't be that much work, everybody. Uh, so there ended up being 9 musicians from around the globe that Lewis and Eric, and Lewis, your friend Andrew, I think. That's how I found Ernest here.
It might have been Todd Clouser down in Mexico City, no?
No, I think it was Andrew. It was an Irish
Andrew
fellow,
Neasley?
Andrew Finn.
Oh, Andrew Finn McGill. Yeah.
Finn
Okay.
McGill.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm. Oh, great.
Anyway, so through various channels, there were really 10 of us actually, because Lisa, you have a collaborator, Marco, and we agreed to form kind of an international writing and interpretation group. So we each wrote one composition, a piece, and then we agreed we will not play them for each other at all. We're not going to demonstrate what they are supposed to sound like in our minds, but we will exchange the sheet music, and we will each learn all of the tunes, all 9 of them, and we will each record a video concert to be streamed later with commentary and discussion as we're doing right now. And those of us who have managed to resist temptation have not watched any of these videos at all yet. So as we tune in, we're going to be mostly seeing a lot of the stuff for the very first time. All these 9 different interpretations of the tune that we ourselves wrote. I've just as the organizer of their project, I've had to do a little skimming of the videos just for technical reasons, but I've tried to not watch everything myself. And just what I've seen though is really blown me away and exceeded my expectations on every level. And I'm not even talking about quality, because I knew it would all be good, but just the range of interpretations and reactions to what started just as a visual, just as sheet music, has been pretty astounding, I think.
I think it's stunning. I'd like to ask if any of the other musicians who have joined us here
Yeah.
today that are part of this project have anything that they'd like to add to this conversation before we move on to watch Russ's performance.
Well, I'll be the first. I'll jump in and say that this has been an incredibly challenging and interesting, fascinating process. And I was not able to resist it. I have seen some of the things. I have not seen all of the takes in their entirety, but I've just seen little tiny pieces, and I'm so excited to see every single one. And I'm thrilled to be a part of this. And I want to just thank you, Russ, again for having included us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
I could just also add that it's been a great sort of therapeutic exercise in having a reason to practice right when lockdown began. So thank you again, Russell, for that as well. It's been extremely motivating because you guys write really hard music.
You're welcome. No, that was one of the best parts for me too. Actually, it was just like having something to rehearse every day for over a month. Yeah, there's not a lot of gigs right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's therapeutic. I'm glad that it's therapeutic for you as individuals. I believe that conceptually and practically, it's therapeutic for the world.
Thanks.
There's a lot of isolation and division, and yet this is a demonstration of collaboration and connection. And the country, the physical space doesn't really matter as much as we think it does. So. Russ, would you like to add anything else to the mix here before we queue up your performance?
I always forget something important, but I don't think right now. And if I did, maybe I can throw it in at the end. We'll be back for another like a 5-minute wrap up.
That's right. So for the public, just so I want to point out that all of these musicians have presented this, and you have an opportunity to donate. If you're enjoying the content, please go to paypal.me/ropeadope, and everything will be sent to the musicians. There's not a label cut in this process. And please do share this live stream on your Facebook and YouTube, or send links out on Twitter or Instagram that we're here and we're doing this. We're going to do this for the next 9 days, well, 8 now. And we're also going to rebroadcast at 5 o'clock. So at 5 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, I will pop back on, explain what's happening, and then rebroadcast everything that you have. So if you're not up at 9 in the morning, you can jump back on, bookmark it. Another place to see this is youtube.com/ropeadope99. And if you subscribe and hit that notification, then you'll get a notification each time one of these comes up, so that you are able to attend. Thanks to everyone. Thank you to the musicians. And let's queue up 9 takes from Russell Kaplan.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you, man. That's it. They're all so much fun to play.
Sounds sweet, man.
Thank you. I'm glad.
You are the man.
That's a lot. I forgot what it was like to play like people's tunes in front of them.
That was so good. That was so good, start to finish.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that felt good. I didn't hate it watching it, which is, I guess, like that's everybody's starting bar, right?
Yeah, coming back is always difficult. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, watching what you've done can be
Yeah.
especially in front of the authors, as you said, that can be nerve-wracking. But you did a fantastic
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
I'm really moved. I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah, right. Man, that's like we yanked you away.
I really could not tear myself away. I was just enthralled.
Wow.
I was just enthralled.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yay.
For those of you who have just watched this and came in a little bit late, this is a global composer project called 9 Takes. The original idea from Mr. Russ Kaplan, and he led off with his performances of each of the 9 composers' songs recorded in quarantine. And we are going to continue this project over the next 8 days, where you'll get to see a similar performance from each of the composers in their locations. And these are people from New York City, Mexico City, Lake Garda, Italy, Switzerland, Tokyo, Australia, Wales, and Dublin. So we hope that you will not only join us again as we go through these. We're going to rebroadcast Mr. Kaplan's performance at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and I will be live to talk about that and answer questions. And I urge anyone who's watching to share these, let your friends know. And also there's a link at the bottom, paypal.me/ropedope, for people to contribute to reward these wonderful musicians for the work that they've put in. Russ, I think you can look at the scope of a project on paper and work on it over time, but until you witness it, the breadth of what is happening here, didn't hit me, at least, until I watched it happening in real time.
Me too, Louis. Me too.
Yeah. I'd be like, wow, I created this.
If I'd known, yeah, no, of course, but yeah.
It's fascinating, and I wonder if I can just ask a couple questions about it. The tunes themselves, like, were I've had to tune in and out and jump around a little bit because there are no extra engineers and assistants here in quarantine. But I'm wondering if you found each of the compositions to be strikingly different or somewhat similar in their nature.
Very different.
Very
different. I think. I mean, if I were. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I think all 9 definitely, even though I did not know most of these folks beforehand, I would merely guess that each of them is a fairly distinctive window into each composer's personal style. I'm just sort of assuming that, Aiden, perhaps your tune is like a typical Aiden tune. I've grown to know that as I've listened to more of your music, but when we started this out, I knew one of your tunes. And so, they're strikingly different. There's definitely some common threads, as far as like my own personal taste. I come from the jazz world, but I have, over the years, I've developed a deep affection for, I guess what one might call just folk music from any corner of the world, just particularly African music too. And I've really loved Padraig's tune, the second to last song, which has a, Celtic influence naturally, being where he's from. So it seems like everybody has little strains of all of those things, maybe in different ratios. Is how I might describe it.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to kind of throw it out to everyone. These songs were all composed and performed in the midst of COVID. Is there a certain self-reflective or world-reflective kind of feeling? Everything, and I have to listen again, but I had a very, very powerful sort of emotional feeling, and that may be, Russ, your wonderful playing, or maybe the compositions themselves. So I'd like to hear what people have to say about the compositions.
Yeah. Well, I won't speak to my own playing. I certainly hope people react the way you did to that. But and as far as the compositions, I can only speak to the intentions of my own, and that definitely was going through my mind for my tune, which was the second one that I played. But I certainly did get that from other people's tunes as I was working on them as well. But I think that's also the beauty of instrumental music in a way, is that you can endow it with your own meaning, which I've certainly done. In my life, whatever is going on, if you feel a connection to a sound, the reason for that is the right one. I think if it speaks to you, then you almost don't want to question why. If you're finding that deeper meaning in it. But I certainly did draw that from it, and might assume that my fellow composers had similar intentions in reflecting on the times that we're in right now. Maybe also just because of the way I pitched this to them when we met. I said I want to do this thing because of what the world is going through right now, and maybe that kind of set everybody on the same mental path when they were writing.
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I definitely felt. I think that's true. I actually started writing a different piece when the project started, and it was. It's a work in progress, but it was very technical, and it just felt quite false. And then I sort of decided to have a look through some other ideas that I'd just been playing since lockdown without actually writing anything down. And I thought it was sort of what I came up with was probably the one which was most able to be molded for interpretation, but also one that was really something that I felt was maybe simple and reflective of the horrible situation, with maybe a mild glint of hope. I realize I'm rambling. I'll stop.
Yeah, no. A mild glint of hope is a nice place to wrap that.
I had a similar experience with my tune, though, Aiden, that that is the one I started with, but I had a B section that was very heady and harmonically overcomplicated, and I thought, like, this whole thing, it's just good to keep it universal for the listener and just more learnable for each other. So
my partner actually said, because I practiced the music quite a lot, she always kept on coming down saying, why are you playing that Pat Metheny tune all the time? And that was actually your tune that she kept on.
Oh, really?
So yes, she's a big fan, especially of that one. She wasn't so big on mine, but that's okay. She's heard it before.
Ernest, how about you? Was COVID infused in on your mind and infused in the composition?
Actually, for my side, I think it has been a challenging moment. Watching TVs and seeing people struggling with the virus outside. To write a song, actually, it was difficult to think about it in terms of writing some beautiful melodies and everything. So, but what I saw, what I've seen personally, it was like to see those I would say beautiful people who were busy helping other people. And I thought of doing a piece to appreciate other people's reaction to towards the COVID. So yeah, it was good for me also to write a piece of songs during this period.
Ernest, I'm so glad you said that, and it actually sheds a real light on the tune, which um, I'm sure the other composers noticed this too. Ernest, you wrote the only major key tune in the whole set. Everything was minor except for yours.
There it is. There it is.
And it's like, and that's why I wanted Lewis and audience. One thing people might want to know is that we all chose to perform the songs in the same order, so that those of you who want to do a really deep dive can compare them more easily. Ernest, it just felt right to put yours last as this like final burst of optimism after all this minor key stuff. It was just like, for me as a player, it was a nice way to end the set, and I hope that's true for everybody else too. But I'm glad you chose that that outlook for your composition. It was really nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, when I was about to write like a song, and I was like, shall I do like a song that is too difficult, like a lot of changes and different chords and a lot of melodies, and I was like, I think we don't have much time to work on something difficult, you know. That's why I did like a simple piece, but it's always good also to have a simple piece, but really beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love playing it.
But I like the way you guys have interpreted it. It's sounding amazing, you know.
Lisa, do you have a comment?
Oh, I just I'm so interested in hearing comments from everyone else. It's the first time I've really heard Ernest speak very much, and it's such a pleasure. Everybody had something beautiful to say, and it's great to have a glimpse inside everyone's minds. As far as us and what we were thinking of when we were working on it, Marco and I, we were certainly deep in COVID, and I think our piece also does reflect the contemplation of that moment. But yes, this is beautiful. This is really, really amazing. Aiden, also, well, I'm in love with all of your pieces. I mean, I can't really choose one that but well, I'll talk more about how I feel about each piece tomorrow. But in this moment, I can just say that I really am just all beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, I think that wraps our portion for today. But I hand the mic back to you, Russ Kaplan, if there's something that you want to add for people before we finish up.
So many things and yet nothing. Yeah, no, I've talked enough, and I'll be here like throughout the week too, sporadically. So I can squeeze in things in.
Great.
But yeah, no, it was just such a joy to play those pieces, and I'm glad I've got mine out of the way. Now I can stop being nervous about that. And I'm just so thankful that everybody really poured their heart and souls into this, and it was a great way to start it. So thanks.
Wonderful. I want to thank you all for helping all of us to translate. I mean, I've often said that, what is most amazing to me about musicians is that they view the suffering of the world and transform it into something beautiful that we can all sort of lean on and rely on and find comfort in. And I think that we put the magnifying glass up really close on that process and on that fact or that belief, at least, when COVID hit. And just thank you all for doing what you do and helping us all get through difficult times. I want to remind people who are watching that you can donate and send some money to these wonderful artists. This is not available on streaming platforms. This is here. This is live. This is now. So please support them. Ropeadope.com. I'm sorry, PayPal.me/ropeadope99. Everybody get that? PayPal.me/ropeadope99. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or any of the YouTube channels of these great artists. and get notifications for the next 8 episodes. We will rebroadcast at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight, which is UTC -4. And upcoming tomorrow, we have Lisa Marie Simmons from Lake Garda, Italy, with her performance at 9 a.m. and again at 5. And then the schedule will be posted as well on our YouTube channel. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all this afternoon. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate
Thank
you.
you.